Hello, hello, hello. My name's 𝙤𝙀𝙒 and welcome to the Unwrap Your GIFT podcast, the show where we dance in conversation about all things to do with life, how to find your gifts, and hear stories from inspirational people around the world. You will learn how to celebrate who you truly are, unwrap your gifts, and step into your true, authentic power. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to season 2 of the Unwrap Your GIFT podcast. This season is all about legacy. What is your legacy? Thank you to everybody for tuning in today. I am so excited to have you. Today we're joined by the amazing Dr. Alex Rosa. Woo-woo! welcome, Alex.
Thank you for having me, 𝙤𝙀𝙒. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here, and let's go.
Let's go. So for those who would love to know more about Dr. Alex, I'm going to read a brief bio for you. So Dr. Alex Rosa is a renowned corporate wellness expert based in Ohio. She is dedicated to enhancing the health and well-being of elite women aged 40 plus and their organizations. With a background in critical care and extensive cardiac experience, she specializes in holistic wellness, functional medicine, and metabolic health. Dr. Rosa's pioneering work revolves around her signature SPICE method, a transformative framework that elevates workforce performance and well-being. Wow. So tell us about your journey so far.
Yeah, so thank you for asking. And I always like to tell people that I went from college dropout to doctor, and I did all of that while raising 3 children. So I have an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And, it's very possible to have the career, be the mom, do what you want to do. I'm always a big advocate for women, pursuing their dreams and their goals. And you can be a mom and you can have healthy relationships. Like I've been with my high school sweetheart. We've been together this entire time. Yes. So, I've had a really long career in healthcare. I've been in healthcare for over 24 years now. And I've done probably every position that you can have and worked in every setting that you can think of when it comes to health. And so I finally kind of towards the end, it was actually right around COVID, where I was finishing my doctorate, and I really saw a need for prevention and education and really a different approach to healthcare, because the outcomes were not improving. I kept seeing younger and younger patients coming in through the ICU, doing cardiac procedures to younger and younger patients. And I was just seeing a lot of things that were making me upset, like they were triggering me. And I was like, I need to do some work around this. I said, this is a sign to me. And that's what kind of really prompted my departure from the bedside, working in the hospitals, to really starting my own private practice and seeing clients virtually, doing in-person events, really taking a more holistic approach to wellness and kind of transferring what I had done in my own life, because I had overcame a lot of sickness in my own self and really transformed my health. I always tell people I really saved my life. So transferring that into other people, creating that SPICE framework, my methodology that I use, really transferring that and sharing that with the world through social media.
Wow. There's so much to unpack there. That is a fantastic and it sounds like there's a lot of highs and lows which we can dip into. I really
Yeah.
got your commitment to the journey. And it sounds like over the years that you've just done something about, a lot of people see things and they think, oh, that's not right, and that's it. But it sounds like you've done something about not being happy with what you see. So what would you say is the moment that you can remember thinking, I'm going to do something about this?
Mm. So I would say for myself, when it came to my own personal health issues, I had, like I said, I've always been in healthcare, and I think knowledge is one thing, but actually implementing it and doing it for yourself is an entirely other thing. And I think a lot of women get into that space of, we're doing stuff for everybody else and we're not doing it for ourselves. And I had totally fallen into that trap. And even more so as a healthcare provider, I was definitely not living a healthy lifestyle. I was very unhealthy. I was like 75 pounds overweight. I was depression, anxiety, high blood pressure, lumps and bumps on my thyroid, breast lumpectomy. Like this was all like in my early 30s. Like I was really sick. My joints were hurting. I had all these like skin things happening, like bad. And after I had my son, who is now 6, I went into heart failure after I had him. And that was really my moment right there. That was my moment because I went to the cardiologist and they were wanting to put me on more medications. And she said, "Were you planning on having any more kids?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'd love to have more kids." And she was like, "Well, that's not a good idea because you probably are not going to survive. Your child is probably not going to survive. Your heart is not strong enough." And that like destroyed me. Seriously, that was like awful to hear that. And so that's really what prompted me to be like, what are you doing? Like that's really what started, the I of spice is what I like to call. So spice stands for different things and the I stands for insight. I had like no self-awareness, I had no accountability up until that moment there. I took responsibility for myself finally, and that started the process of saving my life and losing the weight, getting off of the medications. I'm medication free now. I live a very different lifestyle now than I had ever lived in all my previous years of my life. And I wish I could say that my dad passing away many years ago from cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke. I wish I could say that that's what fueled me to do something with my health and with my life, and even being a caregiver to him. So that's another part of my story is in my, gosh, how was it? My early 20s, because at that time I only had 2 kids. I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I was in school, and he had a heart attack and a stroke, needed to go to rehab. Well, he was married to somebody else at that time, not my mother, somebody else. And while he was in rehab, this woman decided to divorce him and to leave him. And he had no place to go. So he ended up coming to live with me. And I ended up being a full-time caregiver at 20 some years old to my dad, a mom to a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, a full-time student, working full-time, trying to be a wife. It was crazy. It was crazy. And I think everybody could have understood if I would have said, I'm going to put my career on pause. I'm going to put school on pause right now. I'm going to take a break. But I didn't. I kept going. I had every excuse to stop at that point. So if I would have stopped, I know for sure I never would be where I am today here with you. But I kept going. And I wish I could say that that's what changed my life. And because he ended up coming to live with me, he ended up having another stroke and another heart attack. This time the clot went to his brain. And unfortunately, he went on life support and we had to take him off of life support. It was really tragic and really sudden. And just that's why I say I wish I could say that that's what made me change my life, but it didn't. It took many years later, and for me to actually become very self-aware and very insightful to make these changes to my life.
Wow. First, I would like to say condolences to your father.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I understand, it's a challenge going through a lot of ups and downs. And sometimes it just sounds like trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. And it was in those moments that it's like, so who are you going to be?
Who are you going to be? Exactly. Who are you going to be?
So what did you choose to do after all of that happened?
I chose to continue on with my career because I had always had a bigger vision for myself. I think that's a big component of it, really kind of knowing where you want to go. You might not know exactly where you want to go because I didn't know exactly that this was what I was going to be doing. But, following that vision that you have for yourself, or at least having a vision for yourself, knowing that there's more out there for you is a big part of it. And so I just continued on. I'm not one to give up. I'm not one to like throw in the towel. I'm one to just to keep going, to be resilient, no matter what. And I just kept going and going and going. And, I did want to say, when you just brought up trauma, trauma after trauma, a lot of the health conditions that I specialize in, a lot of people don't really correlate or really think about the trauma that these chronic illnesses have on you and your family while they're growing up and what they experience. And what I mean by that is, I came from a family who everyone, type 2 diabetic, overweight, high blood pressure, cancer, stroke, all the illnesses, all the big ones. That was my entire family. That's what I grew up with. I grew up seeing people go to the doctor all the time. I grew up seeing people get feet amputated, toes amputated below the knee, giving themselves insulin injections, poking their fingers, taking medications. Like, that was my normal, right? That was my normal childhood growing up. But how traumatic was that? That's not normal for kids to see that, to experience that. And so that became my normal. And that's what I was heading towards into adulthood. I was just continuing living those traumatic cycles and continuing those. And when I decided to wake up, that's when I said, I don't want my kids to experience this trauma growing up. I want them to have a different experience as children going through into adulthood.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people listening today or watching today can relate. A lot of people are from mainly ethnic minority or diverse BIPOC, whatever you want to call it, backgrounds, and you grow up and you see your grandparents, your mother going, go and get the medicine. I need to take my medication. I need to take my
Yeah.
insulin. Diabetes is very, it's prevalent in some communities. And I feel a lot of people can relate to. And I didn't even think about it until you just said it then, that I grew up with that experience myself. It was just normal. And, you don't put too much salt on your food or sugar on your food because you can get diabetes. But what is the trauma around that associated with that? So that's an important point.
Yeah, very much so. And I lived it for all those years, and I didn't really think about it much. It really dawned on me until I really started doing a lot of that work on myself and really thinking about what had I experienced and how is it manifesting itself now that I'm adult, because I saw how poor my health was. But nobody, like no healthcare provider, right, ever said that to me. And that's why I just was like, when I have a private practice, this is what I'm going to focus on, because this is what will change people's lives. This is what will save people's lives. And I know you talk about legacy a lot, and that's why I say, what kind of, dynasty are you building? Are you creating for you and your family? Because you have every opportunity to break those cycles around that trauma and really create a new dynasty, a new legacy for you and your family, your children, and for all the kids and all the family to come after that.
So this season of the podcast is all about legacy. And I know you already just touched on dynasty, and now we're going to talk about legacy. I'd love to ask you, what would you want your legacy to be in the world? What are you creating?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that question. So definitely breaking those generational cycles that we perpetuate in our families. And I think, we touched on, coming from a minority background, right? And obviously that's, prevalent for all of us. But I think just overall, any family, any race, any gender, we're going to have these issues. And I think it's all about really breaking those cycles around that. And a lot of those cycles are go back to, right, our mindset, our religion, our tradition, our culture. So it goes definitely deeper. So like when I'm working with my clients, they come to me for like, I need to lose a few pounds and this and this. And we go deep, we go way deep, because I take a holistic perspective to the care that I'm providing and to the program that I designed for them. And so it's not always just these surface level things. It goes way deeper. And even I just talked to somebody yesterday. About this, because they were wanting to secure funding for educational programs around prevention for heart disease and type 2 diabetes in women. in a certain community. And, you know, there's plenty of information out there. There's plenty of programs, in all honesty, right? There's plenty of programs out there. There's plenty of information. There's plenty of resources. That's not the problem. The problem is our mindset around health and what we consider health and how we invest in our health and how we talk about it, what we think about our bodies. That all goes under mindset. And that is so rooted in our culture and our family and our traditions. And it's very difficult to break away from that. Not impossible, but very difficult to break away from that and to really separate yourself. And, you know, because I experienced that with what I did with myself in my family. It's difficult. It's very difficult. And I know for some people, that's what's really holding them back. They really try, and they just get sucked back in, they get pulled back in. And so I just want to show people through my content, through my programs, through, you know, any type of way that they might consume anything that I put out there, because I've been making videos, I think, for like 3 years now. I've been online, you know, is to just empower you about your wellness, to really take back control of your wellness, and that you absolutely can. It doesn't have to be a pill. It doesn't have to be, you know, what this person is doing or what this person is doing. And just because you get diagnosed with something, that's not a label for you. That doesn't have to be, you know, your future, who you are, your identity. Just because other people in your family have something just doesn't mean, well, I'm going to get it too, so I don't really care and I'm not going to try to do anything about it. It goes back to so much of mindset around your health, around your body, and just empowering you, and to really break those cycles of illness in your family. And just like we were talking about, leave a legacy, build a dynasty for you and your family.
Yeah, wow. And it's so in, you know, you kind of inherit the beliefs that you get from your family without questioning it.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like part of your legacy is just educating people that you don't have to continue to believe some of the things that you've seen in the past.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And you know, our environments play such a huge part in that. And this is one thing that your viewers, listeners, viewers can take away from this today, is really to audit your environment. Really take a close eye at your environment and really think about, is this how I really want things? Why do I have things this way? Is it just very familiar to me to be familiar? We set up our environments to support us. And many times, if we're dealing with illness or sickness, we have curated an environment that really supports us in our sickness. It keeps us lazy. It keeps us immobile. It keeps, you know, food handy for us. It really sets us up like this. And so I really challenge people to audit their environment, people, places, things around you. And is it set up to help you succeed so that you will be successful no matter what? That's where you really need to curate that environment around yourself. And like I said, people, places, things. Your environment is so crucial to your success or your failure. And we just curate our environments out of tradition, out of family, out of comfort. And that's another huge part of it. We just continue to do this without questioning it, without second guessing it. So I want you to question it. I want you to second guess your environment today if you're listening or watching this, and really think about, what have I set up for myself here?
Amazing, amazing. And who do you typically work with nowadays? What type of audience do you work with nowadays?
So for me, I'm usually working with executives, entrepreneurs, women over 40, women who are having some hormonal issues, right? Our bodies are changing. We're not in our 20s anymore. We've had a couple kids, and the things that we just used to do back in the day are not really working anymore for us, because our bodies really are different now. They're changing. And I often find that over 40 is like a magical time for a lot of women, where we really are, our kids are older, and we really are, you know, really being introspective about ourselves and what we're doing in this world. And, you know, I've got so many, you know, years ahead of me, and what am I going to do with it? Who am I? Am I the person who I, you know, envision myself to be? And if I'm not, what do I need to do to get there? And we just have a different mindset around investing in ourselves and where we want to spend our time and our energy. We really don't give a fuck anymore a lot about what people think. It's a magical time in your life. I love this. I'm 41 and I feel like this is the most amazing time of my life, and that it's just going to get better from here. So that's the crowd that I rock with and that I vibe with. And yeah, it's other women out there, movers and shakers, that are doing things in this world. I'm all about supporting them and uplifting them, and anything I can do to make them live longer, be healthier, I'm all about it.
I love that. And a lot of our listeners do fit in that category. And I've been having conversations, funnily enough, with a lot of women, and they've been talking about menopause and the fear of menopause. Do you touch much on that? Do you want to share some
Oh,
information about menopause? Yeah.
yes, yes. Menopause is menopause. Like, we're all going to go through menopause at some point, some earlier than others. And I think the really interesting thing is that women are going through menopause earlier and earlier. A lot of it does have to do with food, environment, toxins, all of that. Medications that you've been put on at a younger age are causing you to become, menopausal or have these symptoms earlier at an earlier age. We also have a lot of women, and this is something that I was talking about to somebody else the other day, was in the minority community, healthcare, especially OBGYN care, is not the best. And minority women are at higher risk, have higher rates of hysterectomies at younger ages. And so surgically induced menopause is a whole nother thing. And so we have women who are like in their 30s that are going through these hormonal changes and they don't have a clue. Like, nobody told them, like, this is going to happen to you. They don't know how to prepare for it. Not enough people are talking about it, right? Your mom, your grandma, your aunt, nobody's really, like, they talk about it, but they might joke and jest. Nobody's really giving you any actual help except for to make fun of you or to tell you, like, well, this is what you get, or, you've heard all those things.
Mhm.
So I do so much work around that. And, there's no one thing, and this is a big myth buster right here. There's no one thing that's going to get rid of your menopause symptoms or make all the symptoms go away magically. There's no one thing. You really need to be able to kind of curate a little toolbox for yourself of things that you can go to when you might be feeling a certain type of way, because there's some general symptoms that all women are going to experience, but every woman's different. Every woman experiences things different. And
What
so
what would you
Mhm.
say are some of the typical symptoms to look out for? I'm just asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. I know. Mood swings are a huge one. So mood swings can be depression, anxiety, but it can also be rage, anger, like extreme irritation. That can be a huge one. And if you go to your doctor and don't really put it into context, or they don't really listen to you or take a holistic approach to your care and want to just give you a pill, they're just going to put you on like an antidepressant or some other type of medication. When it's just related to your menopause symptoms or your hormonal changes. So mood swings are a big one. The loss of sex drive is another one. Vaginal dryness, changes in your skin texture, your hair texture, even, hair falling out is a big one. Also, hair kind of like popping up in places where you really don't want it to be. That's another sign of it. And also insulin resistance. So I talk a lot about metabolic health. So things that have to do with like your metabolism, your blood sugar, all of that. So insulin resistance is actually a common condition that coincides with hormonal changes, and it actually puts you at higher risk for death. Because cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of women over 40. So I gotta say that again. Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of women over 40. And a huge contributor, a huge driver of cardiovascular disease is insulin resistance. And insulin resistance will start to occur when we have these hormonal changes. So women might start to notice, just a lot of fat around their tummy areas where they didn't used to have it anymore. And they're trying to like do everything and nothing is working to get rid of it. So that's another huge one. So these ones are just, and the hot flashes, we always hear about hot flashes. So just extreme temperature changes, I would say, are very common. So if you're starting to experience those things, even women sometimes experience a lot of joint pain, body pain. That's another one. I love to use collagen. So if anybody's watching this and you are having some joint muscle pains, collagen is your best friend. If you're not taking collagen, you need to start taking it like today. After you listen to this, start taking some collagen. It's amazing. It really will help with the skin, with the joints, with everything. I have all my clients get on collagen ASAP, like got to be on it. So those are some of the symptoms that you can experience when you're going through some of these hormonal changes. But you need to be able to, kind of going back to really curate a little toolbox to how to deal with all of these things. And that's why taking a holistic perspective, why I created SPICE. So SPICE will help you with this because SPICE stands for the different areas of wellness. So spiritual, physical, insight, career, and emotion. So we give you different tools, different resources. We build up your wellness in all these areas through different activities and exercises, different, interactions that we'll have, and I'll give you resources around it and tools, things you can implement when you're starting to experience these things, because they will all start to impact you. And, one day you're going to have this and the next day you're going to have this, even in the same day, you could have like 5 different things going on. So it's, what can I pull from to help me work through this? Because it's a transition. You're going to have to work through it, and there'll be an endpoint at some time. There's going to be an endpoint, but it's just working through it and having the resources and knowing what to do, and not just being stuck like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. That's like the worst situation to be in. So having different things that you can pull from to help you get through this transition.
Amazing, amazing. So having a powerful toolkit. I love the spice. It's like spicing up your life, having something to draw on.
I'm telling you, and like it applies so well because a lot of women tell me just like these basic things that they try to do when it comes to their health and their wellness. And I'm like, no, girl, we got to spice it up. That's not going to cut it for you. And that's often why I tell the women that I work with, right? The clientele that I have, right? The high level, high power leadership, executive, entrepreneur, like you're at a different level, right? You're at a different level. You didn't do basic stuff to get to where you're at. You went above and beyond. So when it comes to your wellness, you got to do above and beyond when it comes to your wellness. You can't be messing around with this basic stuff that's not going to get you to where you need to be. It's not going to support you at this level that you're at, because higher levels of leadership require higher levels of self-care. So I often talk about overcoming the middle class mindset when it comes to self-care. That's a whole nother show right there, girl.
Oh.
But it's so true. It's so true. And it can really take you to the next level when you can tap into this and overcome this middle class mindset when it comes to your self-care.
Wow. I hope everybody's listening, got your notebook out, taking some notes. Amazing, amazing. So this is the Unwrap Your Gift podcast, and it's all about empowering people to unwrap their gifts so they can step into their power. And one of the questions that I love to answer our guests is, what would you say is one of your gifts?
Ooh, one of my gifts is, I think I know for sure, is taking in super complex information, right? I spent years and years in healthcare. I done absorbed all the things, taking that all in and being able to relay it, explain it, present it, teach it in a way that every woman will understand, that every person will understand. I make my content very relatable. And I often have been told the comment, excuse me, that I don't sound like a doctor ever. And I'm like, I'm glad. I said, because I'm definitely not your traditional doctor. I don't practice traditional medicine. I do things very differently. And that's what people need now more than ever, because again, information is everywhere, but nobody is presenting it in a way that's going to hit home with you, right? Because I know we talked about stuff today that you were like, yeah, that's what I do. That's what is my superpower, is taking all that complex information and just bam, putting it in your face, presenting it to you, showing it to you in a way that's relatable to you, where you're going to think about it today, tomorrow, in a couple months. You might be thinking about it. It's going to pop into your brain. And that's what I want. I want it to stick with you, because one day you're going to decide to make a change. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but there's going to be a point where it's going to pop into your brain and you're going to do something. And that's what I absolutely love, because we all have the power to transform our bodies, ourselves, our mindsets. We all have it. And so that's what I do. That is definitely my superpower.
Fantastic, fantastic. And even when you're sharing that, I'm seeing like some of your social media posts, you use technology, you bring it modern. It's not a boring booklet, like you do reels, you're doing everything to bring that
Mhm.
message to life.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yes, definitely. And if you follow me on social, like if anybody's watching, I love it. I'm on all the platforms, very omnipresent. So I go live, I make reels, I present information in different ways, in different forms, because we're all different types of learners. I'm also a teacher. I teach at the local university as well. So I know, and I mostly deal with adult learners. So adult learners can be the worst sometimes, because we're so stuck in our ways, where we're like, oh, I'm this type of learner. And I'm like, no, girl, somebody told you that when you were like in sixth grade, and now you're like 40. It does not apply. It does not apply anymore. So, so I present information in all kinds of different ways. And if you watch my socials, you'll see my kids all in my videos all the time. My littlest one, Ches, I like to call him Chef Ches, because he's always helping me cook. All my kids cook. And I think that's a huge part of it, right? Modeling and teaching them good eating habits, different types of foods, how to prepare foods, cook, even at 6 years old. Like, he's in there cooking more than most adults. I know. So I always make videos with him. So I present information in different ways that's relatable for people, relatable for moms, relatable for other women, to know that, I'm here, I'm proof, and you can do it too.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. And as we're coming close to the end of the interview, another question I always like to ask is, what would you say is one of your favorite quotes?
Mm. Oh, I do have a favorite quote, and it's by Jim Rohn, and it's start from wherever you are with whatever you've got. And
Fantastic.
that shit has got me through everything. It can apply to everything. And it's actually the quote that's at the bottom of my emails. Yes,
Oh,
I have that at the bottom of my emails. Start from wherever you are with whatever you've got. It's enough said.
brilliant, brilliant. And what does the audience have to look forward to? What are you working on now?
What am I working on now? So I have a art of biohacking masterclass that I kind of piloted last month, but I want to make it a recurring event. So if you're interested in biohacking, right, leveraging technology, leveraging, tools and technology to really elevate and optimize your wellness, I do a really in-depth master class on that. And so I'll touch on intermittent fasting, I'll touch on longevity, fat loss, women's health and hormones. It's all going to be really, really great information in that. So I do have that master class. I am hosting it live. I don't have the next dates set up yet. So if you're watching this or listening, just send me a message. And that's the other thing. Like, if anybody's interested in getting in contact with me, just send me a message. You can find me on Facebook, and LinkedIn is where I primarily hang out the most. But I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. I'm on Twitter or X. I'm on all the platforms. So just send me a message. Hey, I saw you on 𝙬𝙀𝙒 podcast, and I really liked when you talked about this. Bam. That's all you got to say. And that's the best way to get a hold of me. But yeah, so my art of biohacking masterclass is coming up. And then as far as working with clients and like programs, I'm kind of like revamping some things and offering some more elevated services. So I'm going to be doing some, really bringing back the old fashioned house call to people. So if there's women that are kind of local to me in my area, so I'm in Ohio. If they're local to me, I'm going to start offering in-person sessions. Right now, I've been pretty much doing everything telehealth, virtual,
Mm.
but I love being with people. I love seeing people. So I definitely want to get in there and have some in-person wellness experiences, right? Like a whole day where we spend together, talking about wellness and working on your wellness, doing some very bespoke programming just for you. Those are with some of my more elevated packages. So we can look forward to those coming out. And I do want to have a live event. I have a planner that she's been like hounding me, like, girl, when are you going to have your event? So that's going to be coming up. I need to have it. I don't know if I'm gonna have it by the end of 2023. So maybe it's gonna be a 2024 event, but I definitely want to have an event where I'm going to be doing some IV hydration services and doing some type of wellness talk, maybe doing the biohacking thing during that. So some fun things coming up. But I'm mostly just working one-on-one with clients right now, and that's been kind of taking up a lot of my time right now, and just meeting people and being interviewed by amazing people like you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, it sounds like you got a lot on, which is great, and so much for people to tap into. I'm going to drop all your details in the show notes as well after this so that people can get in contact with you on Facebook, LinkedIn, check out your YouTube channel. You got it going on,
Mhm.
right?
Leveraging
Awesome.
technology, girl, because there's only
Leveraging
one way.
technology. Absolutely, absolutely. And what would you say is one last message that you'll love to leave with the audience?
Mm, I think it just goes back to that quote, honestly. Start from wherever you are with whatever you've got. And I think it just, like I said, applies to everything in your life. It really does. And you just have to start. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And it doesn't have to be great, the latest or the greatest. It don't have to be that. It just has to, you just have to do. You just have to decide, right? Take action. And I think that's a big part that we struggle sometimes with when it comes to our health, when it comes to our wellness. We think we got to have all these special, fancy things, and I have to bring people down to to like reality. I'm like, we just got to get the basics, because if we can't get the basics, going for you, then no amount of like IV hydration and supplements and blood work that we're going to do is going to make any difference until we get some of this stuff done. So really, just starting from wherever you are with whatever you've got, and just decide and go for it. Like, start today, like literally start today, right now.
You hear that? Start today, right now. Love it.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. You have been an amazing guest.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with everybody today. And thank you to everybody for listening and watching. I appreciate you. I would love to
Thank
leave by saying, did you have any last words before we close?
No, I just wanted to say thank you
Oh,
to your audience and to you. And yes, girl, you have been amazing. I love it.
thank you so much. I appreciate you. And everybody else, thank you for listening. And remember to subscribe to our channels. And I'm going to close by saying, remember, we are all born with a gift. And we all have special skills, talents, and gifts that we can use to be successful. And now's the time to unwrap your gifts. Have an amazing day and see you soon. Bye.